The world is full of unsung heroes that we'd probably never get to know if it weren't for the existence of social networks and the internet. And although the digitalization of society has many negative things, it also brings us an infinite number of advantages, such as being able to connect millions of people in a matter of minutes and make them part of a precious act of kindness. Connor Brian Fleming, better known to all as CB, had been a Virginia police officer for over 20 years, being one of the most important and beloved assets of the South Hill Police Department. His life was nothing out of the ordinary. He'd been married for 8 years to a French teacher and was the father of 2 beautiful girls ages 10 and 8, whom he loved dearly and for whom he tried every day to improve and make Virginia a safer city to live in. However, despite being a completely normal man and having the most ordinary job aspirations, Corporal CB would manage to earn the respect and admiration of an entire community to the point of being considered a true hero. And he'd achieve this by using the greatest superpower a person can possess: love. It is well known that the poorest neighborhoods in the city of Virginia also have the highest crime rates. This causes the relationship between the neighbors in the area and the police to remain tense, to the point that many consider the police the bad guys and are afraid to meet them because that would only bring you trouble. A painful prejudice that Corporal Fleming hated and against which he fought every day in his work. Although the agent tried to establish a cordial relationship with the community, the response he received was always the same: "You're not welcome here." The community rejected them, and the children, from the youngest to the teenagers, looked at them as if they were an enemy from whom they had to defend themselves at all costs. "Stop trying, man. I don't know why you're trying so hard to reason with them. They don't like us, and they don't understand that we're here for their good and not to hurt them," his patrol partner, Agent Ramirez, would tell him every time CB returned disgruntled after having had to deal with the neighbors in the area. "I won't get tired of trying, Rami. It's my duty," CB replied, determined to keep trying no matter how hard they made it. Nothing seemed to change the situation until one day, as fate would have it, what started out as a mistake ended up becoming the solution that CB and the entire police force had been looking for years. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click that notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Now, back to the story. It all started when Corporal CB Fleming of the South Hill Police Department arrived at an apartment complex with emergency crews investigating a possible gas leak at Mecklenburg Manor, one of the government-subsidized housing units. In the call, a neighbor reported that he smelled gas near one of the homes and was afraid there might be an explosion. However, when the officer and his fellow officers arrived on the scene, they didn't smell the odor. CB knew this was one of the areas where the police weren't welcome and that often false calls were made to the emergency services for the sheer pleasure of watching them waste time and laughing at their work. However, the police and fire department had a duty to check that all was well and should enter the house they'd all been told to look around. However, when CB and his companions were about to inspect the house, the corporal noticed some children playing on the ground in the front yard. Upon seeing them, the children stopped playing and tried to hide. The look of terror on the face of one of the girls when she saw him arrive broke his heart. Seeing those children alone and frightened, the officer decided to take the initiative and told his colleagues to go ahead. "Go inside. I'll stay here and keep an eye on these kids," CB told them as he took off his hat and put his gun on the back of his belt so he wouldn't scare them. Knowing that the kids at the local housing complex were afraid of cops, Corporal CB Fleming found a very original way to gain their trust and bond with them. The officer did something no one expected and managed to surprise all the residents. Think like a child. Trying to earn the trust of the little ones, the agent lay down on the floor and began to crawl to them, just like a child would. CB knew that he was ridiculous in that situation and that no other policeman would have chosen to behave like that. But he wasn't a policeman like the others, and he knew that the only way to achieve results was to do what no one else dared to do. The policeman slowly approached the children, who were 2 girls and a boy playing with rag dolls and small superhero figures. As he crawled along the floor, the children didn't stop watching him carefully, and when he reached them, he pronounced the most magical words a child can hear. "Should we play?" Fleming asked them, smiling and pulling a small doll out of his jacket pocket. Seeing the children playing, CB remembered that he still carried one of his little daughter's dolls in his uniform pocket. He thought that if he showed them the doll, the children would understand he wasn't dangerous and would let them play with him, and he was right. Seeing him pull out the doll and seeing that it posed no threat, the children smiled back and hurried over to him to play together on the floor. Seeing the policeman sitting on the ground playing with those children was a truly touching scene, and it would have been a shame if no one else should see it. Luckily, that wouldn't be the case. CB believed that there was no one else in the area, and the rest of the neighbors had chosen to stay indoors and ignore them completely, something they often did. However, what the corporal couldn't imagine was that that morning there was someone else looking out of the window and watching the whole scene with rapt attention. And that person was precisely the mother of 2 of the children they were playing with. Mrs. Roper Boswell, whose daughter and niece were outside with a policeman at the time, was able to watch the whole thing from her kitchen window. The woman, who was shocked to see the policeman's attitude towards the children, decided to start filming the whole thing when CB Fleming approached the children, who shunned her. And thank goodness she did, because otherwise the world would have missed a precious action that would have changed the course of things forever. CB spent just a few minutes sitting on the ground playing with those kids, but it was the best 10 minutes of his career as a police officer, and what would finally accomplish what he'd been trying to do for so many years: reconcile the community and the police. The video, posted by Roper Boswell on social media, made its way around the internet with more than 200,000 views in less than a week, filling with positive comments congratulating the officer for his kindness and his treatment of children living in some of the worst neighborhoods in Virginia. The video was posted with the following caption: "A false gas leak alarm turned into a full-blown play session today at Mecklenburg Manor. We need more cops like him. Thank you for taking the time to play with the kids." The video showed one of the children smiling while the other bounces on his knees, anxiously waiting for his new friend, the CB cop, to pull the doll out of his pocket. It was a short but loving video that touched millions of people in a matter of hours. "People need positivity," Roper Boswell told local news station WTVR. "I was telling him that my daughter, my niece, and some of the other kids there were afraid of the police, so when he came and played with them, I captured that moment, not because I thought it'd go viral." The mother explained that she believes her daughter and other children have found a superhero in Fleming, and that she's very happy that a police officer like him is there to bring safety to the low-income community. In her interview, she explained, "The neighbors, and especially the young people, they need someone who they feel is a superhero, and he's amazing. That's the only word you can use to describe CB Fleming. It's amazing the bond he has with the kids in our community," says the proud mother. She adds that she hopes Fleming's genuine interest in the children and his neighbors is reflected in the video she shared. Meanwhile, Fleming, who didn't expect to hog the media spotlight and was grateful for the support he was receiving for everyone, explained that he doesn't want police officers to be seen as a threat by the community, but as someone who can take care of them and whom they could trust no matter what. "It's something I've always tried to do," Fleming said. "When I got into this job, I knew I wanted to do something different other than write tickets and be the bad person all the time who only brings bad news. I figured if I could be that bright spot in someone's day, that's all that mattered." Fleming said he hoped his actions and those of his fellow police officers would lead to changes in the connections of residents and poor neighborhoods have with the police. "We had a lot of calls here when I first started," Fleming said to the community. "I thought if I could let them know that I was an anchor point, that they could come talk to me and trust me, then I could do some good. I want everyone, not just the kids, but the moms and dads, to know that they can come to me." While playing dolls or games with children may not be included in a law enforcement job description, Roper Boswell praises Fleming for gaining the trust of children by connecting with them in such a special way. "Now the South Hill kids affectionately call him Batman, knowing that if they need his help, they can let him know by calling his personal phone. Thanks to him, my daughter now feels safe. She doesn't even have to call 911, she just has to call CB if she's in trouble. I'm glad he's made this part of his job. It's changed my daughter's life and my niece's life," says Roper Boswell. After his unexpected success, Fleming continued to work as normal, feeling really happy about what had been achieved that day, but aware that they still had a long way to go. What a touching story. It's so sweet that CB Fleming found a way to break through the children's fear and gain their trust. His kindness and his willingness to make things change are what make the world a kinder place, giving us all back our faith in people and in the possibility that the differences that now separate us will one day disappear. Did you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation.